shift the focus on OMCs, and that's going to be our BNSN lens that we will be talking about today in terms of OMCs. Now, why? The government has actually announced an LPG price cut of 100 rupees over the weekend. And they said that this cost will be borne by the OMCs. How will this impact the OMCs in terms of their profitability? Let's go across to Somit, who's going to be explaining us what this actually means for OMCs.
Well, if you see the LPG price cut of around 100 rupees per cylinder will be a direct hit on the profitability of the oil marketing companies, because if you see currently the under recoveries on LPG stands at around 150. Now post this cut of around 100 rupees, that will increase to around 250 rupees per cylinder. Now the earnings impact might not be visible in the fourth quarter of FY24, because in FY24 earlier, if you see, oil marketing companies had over recoveries, and that's the reason this impact won't be visible in this current financial year of FY24. Over recoveries means that earlier they were getting LPG at cheaper prices, but they were selling at a higher price. So there was some profit that was booked earlier, and hence the impact won't be visible in FY24. But if LPG prices sustain at current levels globally, then FY25 profitability could take a hit. However, on the positive side, if you see, LPG prices usually fall in summer. If that happens, then the impact would be limited on the oil marketing companies. And in past, what we have seen is that any losses on LPG have been made good by the government, given the fact that LPG is a controlled product. So though interim budget does not account for any subsidy for FY25, but the final budget could account for. So at this moment, it's not clear whether there will be an impact or not. But if there is no subsidy burden taken by the government in the final budget, then definitely there could be some impact on the oil marketing companies. On the other side, if you see, what Morgan Stanley is currently saying is, in the near term, conversations with investors point to skepticism about the diesel and gasoline, that is petrol fuel price cut going forward, given that elections are approaching. At current prices, if you see, India's crude oil prices, India's retail fuel prices are benchmarking crude at around $90 per barrel. So Morgan Stanley is expecting a price cut of around 2 to 3 rupees per litre. Again, on the positive side, what we understand is that oil minister indicated that there won't be any price cut anytime soon, given the fact that the freight charges have recently gone up and oil marketing companies are still making losses when it comes to diesel sales. So it needs to be seen whether there will be any fuel price cut or not, because that will impact the profitability of the oil marketing companies as well.
Thank you so much for that, Somit, for exactly telling us why the OMCs are in focus. But also, let's actually hear out what exactly the oil minister had to say about the OMCs, because given the fact that the Indian OMCs have faced losses for not passing on the international price hikes to the consumers, is what the oil minister had to say over the weekend. Let's hear out what else he had to say.
अंतर्राष्ट्रीय महिला दिवस पर उन्होंने एक और डिसीजन कन्वे किया कि एलपीजी सिलेंडर का दाम जो है वो 100 रुपए और कम किया जाएगा. When the international price went up, we allowed the price domestically only to go up by 70%. In other words, the rest of it was absorbed. इसका नतीजा क्या हुआ? इसका नतीजा ये हुआ कि जो हमारी कंपनीज हैं उन्होंने घाटा लिया. कितना घाटा? उनका रिपोर्टेड लॉस इज 28,000 करोड़ और हमें उस 28,000 करोड़ में से शायद 22,000 करोड़ वी हैड टू रीएम्बर्स देम बिकॉज वी वांट टू कीप आवर कंपनीज अफ्लोट एंड द कंपनीज अल्टीमेटली आर आंसरेबल टू देयर शेयर होल्डर्स. दिस डिसीजन इज टेकन बाय द कंपनीज. मैं ये भी बता दूं आपको, ये जो और दे हैव बीन गुड कॉर्पोरेट सिटीजन, अगर वो बढ़ा देते, कुछ सेक्टर में जो प्राइवेट सेक्टर के लोग थे, जब दाम कम हुए ओएमसीज ने अपने रिटेल बंक पे दाम कम किए, प्राइवेट सेक्टर ने नहीं किए, बट देन दे आल्सो हैड अ सेंस ऑफ इंट्रोस्पेक्शन एंड दे डिड इट.
Okay, and let's take the discussion forward with our experts for today. We have Kunal as well as Lancelot joining in with us. Very good morning, gentlemen. Thank you so much, as always, for joining in with us. Kunal, I'm going to come to you. Let's talk about OMCs, right? We had seen a very sharp run-up coming for these companies and in terms of the stock move as well. Now, given that the current scenario that what we're seeing in terms of the LPG prices, the cuts that have been announced over the weekend of around 100 rupees, what is the sense that one should actually watch out for in terms of the pricing now for OMCs? What are the charts and technicals indicating?
Good morning, Vinny. Good morning, everyone. So, After a steep run up for these OMC stocks where, we've seen IOC, BPCL, HPCL, I think these stocks have run up anywhere closer to 40%, 50% in the past, 6 to 12 months or so. I think there's bound to be these kind of news flows which could impact or, impede a stock price rally. But I would probably, sense that these are very minor issues for the stock in terms of the near-term play. I think the uptrend which you've seen over the last 1 year is extremely strong. My sense is that once the price adjustments happens for these stocks, even if there's a minor correction of say 3 to 5% broadly for these names, I would believe that that could be a very good point to actually look at buying the stock or adding or accumulating further for these names, given the kind of run-up we've already seen for the OMC stocks in the last 1 to 1.5 odd year.
All right, so that's the view coming in from Kunal when it comes to the OMCs. Very good morning to you, Kunal. Also, good morning to you, Lancelot. Thank you so much for joining us on ET Now. And Lancelot, let's talk about the OMC counters. No doubt this LPG cut has come in, and also what various brokerages also pointing out that maybe in the full budget we may see some sort of a subsidy or so that the government may allocate or not. But that's maybe kind of a scenario. But what's your take coming in on these OMCs? Because all of them have actually rallied. They were among the last set of PSU counters actually to see that sharp rally take place. What's your take coming in on the fundamentals of all of these OMC counters? How are they placed? Because given the fact that most of them actually depend on what exactly is happening in the international crude market as well.
Yes, I think they do depend a lot on their profitability, depends a lot on the international crude market, and we have seen the government sort of offer a lower price on the LPG cylinder, which will have some impact, but not immediately. Maybe in the next year we should see that impact play out. However, if you look at the oil marketing companies, they were very undervalued a year ago. And as of now, I think given this 40% rise in in the prices of the oil marketing companies, the valuations have just about come back to the long-term trailing averages. So from a valuation perspective, I still think there is some upside available, especially because many of these companies like BPCL and Indian Oil have made further investments in both refining capacities as well as in gas handling capacities, and these will also start to generate some kind of profitability going forward as well. So I would say one can look at it from a fundamental perspective. I don't think they are overvalued at this point in time, but they seem to be reasonably valued, and any decline can be an opportunity to buy into these stocks, because the long-term outlook looks reasonably solid and growth is going to come back over a period of time. I think once the elections are over, then a lot of these issues which the market may be fearing will be out in the open, and then the discounting will come back into these counters as well.
Okay, that's the view coming in on OMCs. But on that note, we're going to slip into a very short break.